Hello. So our week 2 video discussion is on auditions and casting. Auditions are always difficult um, and can be quite draining. I know this personally myself, but uh, the director, a couple things to keep in mind is that the director needs to stay unbiased in the process of auditions, needs to be kind to everyone at auditions, and more importantly, be equal to all. Um, you do not want the gossip to get around that you are playing favorites to someone, because that will only do bad things for your theater in the long run. Chapter 11 went into 8 different types of auditions. Me personally, I have used the general open and the appointments. As a director myself, I started with the general open and then now I do the appointments. But reading through the disadvantages of the appointments, the appointment process of it, as it kind of keeps away the ones that might be the spur of the moment, the spontaneous students. And I've had a couple spontaneous students come on audition and they were wonderful. So trying to kind of think of a way to maybe incorporate both. Not sure how that would work yet, but just something to kind of keep in mind to try to keep auditions open to as many people as possible. Um, the two, when it comes to the audition process, the two that would not work for me would be the interview process, just from the time constraint itself. That would just take way too long. And then also seasonal. I mean, it could work in the school world because if you have 2 productions, like I have 2 productions, one in the fall and one in the spring, to audition everybody in the fall, you're going to lose out on a bunch of students that maybe didn't know about it or kind of got talked into it, and auditions were months ago. So it just closes off that aspect for students that may want to come around a little bit later. I very much like the section on callbacks, the approach to problem solving nervous auditioners, how to work through some of the concerns and how you can kind of fix that or guide them during callbacks. I like the quote on page 54 down at the bottom. It says, "Nervousness is common, however, and is not necessarily a sign of a weak performer, so it may be worth your time to help the actor relax." I thought that was pretty awesome because that's true. Um, I've gone through auditions myself. You're extremely nervous, and to have a director that's kind and willing to kind of work with you through the audition process helps both the actor and the director see all that is possible. Moving forward after auditions, you obviously get into casting. My least favorite part of anything in the theater. I hate casting just because, one, I hate letting people down, especially students who work hard and try hard. Um, Two, you have so much to consider in such a small amount of time that you had during auditions and callbacks. Um, to try to take all of it in. I know I personally need to work on my note taking during auditions and callbacks. I like some of the suggestions it had in there, like the whole layout with all the information, the different characters, and the different qualities that they need, so you can easily kind of shorthand information. Uh, that's something that I need to work on through my auditions. Um, but areas that I focus on during auditions would be kind of the vocal demands, the quality of the voice, the articulation, the projection. Are they able to articulate and have people, the audience, hear what they are saying? Uh, Being in the high school world side of things, a lot of my casting is educational casting. So kind of looking for those students that I believe that I can kind of teach and mold and grow into their characters. I usually try to give a little small direction during callbacks to see if they take that direction, because sometimes you don't know a student, you're not sure how they're going to take all that, but sometimes you just have to go for it. And I've had both situations where it turned out wonderful and then when it turned out not so wonderful. But Everything's always a learning process. Um, Finally, and probably the most important, but also the hardest for high school kids, is rehearsal availability. It seems like so many kids these days do so much. So, looking at the audition form, and I have the spot where they can write their conflicts, which again is difficult for high school students because sometimes they don't take everything into consideration. So, it's working through those rehearsal conflicts and looking at availability and talking with coaches and all that good stuff. And sometimes some of them have the best intentions, but just don't have any time to do it. And to wrap this up, I just wanted to finish with a quote on page 171 because I helped me feel not so alone about the disliking and the hardness of the casting process. The casting process typically produces so much anxiety and disappointment among actors that it's easy to forget how agonizing it can be for a director who cares not only about the success of the planned production, but also for the actors who work so hard to join the cast. And that is how I feel every single time. But I like the information, the different ideas that it stated for auditions, and then kind of some ways you can work through some of the casting and the specific things to look forward to or look for during your casting.